Okay. Good day, everyone, and welcome to CrewFit. Today, our videocast is about brain health, brain fitness, mental health, as well. It's about sleep disorder. Having said that, our episode of the videocast is with the collaboration of the BrainHub. The BrainHub actually is a clinic that it is specialized in providing detailed medical consultation and diagnosis services focusing on brain health and neurodisability as well sleep disorder. It is run by the director, Dr. Mohammad Nami. I will let Dr. Mohammad Nami to introduce himself to us and dazzle us with your research and your education.
Thank you, Mr. Orbi. Total pleasure, and thank you for having me with this fantastic series of discussions. Yeah, my name is Mohammad Nami. I'm a clinical medical neuroscientist. So being in the field of brain health for the past 17-something years, I've been so passionate about studying the brain and how it puts together different faculties of our function, including cognition, emotion, behavior, motor function, and sensory aptitude. And it brought me to the field of research in the field of brain and sleep and cognitive health or cognitive fitness. So it's been a long journey, and we have been fortunate to establish several centers in different countries, but here in Dubai, we have started the BrainHub as hopefully it's going to be a center of excellence within a few years for provision of the clinical services as well as training and many other, public awareness campaign activities and stuff to raise the awareness of the people about how fantastic this brain between our ears is putting together our day-to-day functionality.
How powerful it is.
It is. And we're nothing but our brains, right?
Yeah. Can I ask you just to give us a small brief, what do you mean by cognitive health? And what is the difference between brain fitness and mental health?
Yeah, that's a very important question to tap into because sometimes we have like a blurring of the boundaries between the phrase mental health and cognitive health. The cognitive health is a component of our mental health. Mental health is a more diverse and inclusive, idea. But cognition is a wording which refers to specific mental and brain-wise faculties, including our memory, our attention, our learning, and language and speech aptitude, also other higher order brain functions, including whatever we need in our work and day-to-day activities. I know you guys as pilots and cabin crew members, you are dealing with some specific tasks which require higher order cognitive functions, including decision-making,
correct,
and planning and reasoning and problem solving and judgment and executive control. So these are like cognition or cognitive fitness is an umbrella term which covers all those different domains of our brain-based functionality. Right?
So having said that, and you talked about having attention, having focus, I'm pretty much sure that as well cognitive health is related to memory. And there is a dazzling question among the community of flight crew, which is cabin crew or pilot, about the short-term memory issues. We cannot memorize things that we used to do before we joined our airline industry. It even took me a long time to repeat all those questions so that I can sit with you and have a conversation, because I memorized it and in the next 5 minutes I forgot what I said. So is it something that it is related for sleep pattern, sleep disorder? Is it the short-term memory is getting affected by those kind of jet lags that we are having? And I can say as well, lack of oxygen that we are having in the aircraft?
Yeah, apparently, there is a very famous quote in sleep medicine. And what we say is that sleep is of the brain, for the brain, and by the brain. So lack of sleep and lack of efficient sleep will eventually lead to some hampering effects on our brain function. This has been documented by scientific research over decades. number one. Number two is that one of the main things, as you indicated, which is receiving a very pronounced effect after sleep insufficiency or lack of sleep quality or problem with the sleep-wake rhythm or biological circadian rhythm, if you like, is problems with the short-term memory. And this has been documented in a series of publications. In the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine, year 2023, in Harvard Medical School repository, and also in American Psychological Association. There are 3 papers at least indicating the impact of insufficient sleep and dysregulation of the biological circadian rhythm on short-term memory. And short-term memory will cause, short-term memory impairments will cause to specific challenges in our cognitive fitness, and whereby we will start to feel that our maintenance of attention is not there. So attention and memory are quite interdigitated. And what we need to do to mitigate those issues is first to stick to the sleep hygiene measures to make sure that our sleep health is in check. Number 2 is to practice some mnemonic devices, and also regular mental health exercises and adequate sleep hygiene practices, which we'll probably tap into it as the discussion progresses.
Yes.
So this is very salient specifically for the crew members and pilots and aviation industry personnel, right?
Is it reversible at certain point? If I quit the job and I start to sleep normal every day from 8 o'clock at night, which is the sleep hygiene, till let's say 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, will my short-term memory that it's been affected for a long time will reverse to a normal short-term memory as other people?
It depends. But in a nutshell, yes. Okay. As per the scientific evidence and bulk of research findings, we know that long-term consequences of sleep deprivation and sleep loss, or let's say impairment of the quality of sleep, and their impact on our short-term memory is reversible. It can be reversible.
It can.
But it definitely depends on the duration of the impact, and it varies person to person. It might be mitigated within a matter of weeks, or it might take like months or several months, right? Mm-hmm. And there are some, scientific papers addressing specifically on this reversibility on the short-term memory impairment due to sleep insufficiencies. One of those papers have been published in the year 2024 in the Journal of Sleep, and also one other paper in 2021, and the statement by the American Academy of Sleep Medicine that we need to address the underlying conditions rooting in our sleep predicament. If the sleep predicament is already there and we're not taking care of that, the condition is going to be even more complicated. So the can be reversible thing will be much more complicated thing. But if we address the underlying problem, whether it is sleep disordered breathing or challenges in our circadian rhythm, or let's say problem with our insomnia, inability to maintain sleep or fall asleep, if the problem is still there, then we cannot expect that the short-term memory problem is going to get reversed, right? So we need to touch the root cause of the problem and make sure that the grassroots has already been addressed properly, right?
That's correct. There is one of our members who basically said, not to say the name for privacy, asked, sleep challenges for cabin crew and pilots. What are the most common sleep disorder you encounter among some of your clients who are pilots or cabin crew, and how this disorder typically manifests?
Yeah, fortunately, I've been able to deal with clients and patients with sleep disorders quite vastly over the past 17 years. And I've been very fortunate and lucky enough to be dealing with sleep tests for over 4,500 times and 4,500 patients, right? So it's been a long journey. And a handful number of those people were, incidentally, they were crew members or they were pilots.
Yeah.
And it turns out that not only based on my observations, but also based on the academic research and also the community research works, there are 3 specific types of sleep disorders which are quite prevalent amongst the aviation industry personnel. And there are insomnia. Number two is sleep apnea or sleep disordered breathing, loud snoring, and stuff like that. And number three is the circadian rhythm disorder, which is disruption in the wake-sleep pattern. So these three things are found to be specifically common amongst those individuals that we definitely need to get this, evaluated. At least the aviation personnel need to get checked for the possibility of these three things once a year, right?
Once a year.
But let's say once in their lifetime, but they have not been addressed.
Correct.
And they have not been evaluated for their sleep dynamics, right?
Yes.
That is the issue, because they are holding critical job related responsibilities.
Correct.
If the sleep problem is not checked or evaluated for them, and it's going to be turned into a long run issue, that is going to negatively impact their performance.
Yeah, correct.
Because sleep problems, either insomnia or sleep disordered breathing or circadian rhythm problem, will certainly affect their emotion and cognition. And we know that the performance change or performance improvement roots in cognitive change and emotional change. And it cannot happen without changing in sleep health metrics, right?
Oh.
So they need to get checked out for that.
So we can say that the jet lag can really affect the cognitive function and overall neurological health of a cabin crew and pilot.
It will.
It will.
And it depends on the frequency of the jet lag experiences. If I experience jet lag once a month,
Yes.
or twice a month max,
Yes.
that will be kind of tolerable, medically speaking.
Yes.
But if I experience jet lag quite frequently and in a more abundant way, then of course the jet lag impact on our cognitive performance, on our emotional control, mood control is going to be detrimental. And this has been proven by like many, a large body of scientific evidence. And that has specifically been addressing the jet lag effect, not only on passengers who are traveling across the time zones, but specifically for the flight attendants and pilots. Yeah, and cognitive decline and increased risk of neurodegenerative disorders, unfortunately, and God forbid, for those people who are at a higher risk for Alzheimer's type dementia or Parkinson's disease or different types of neurodegenerative changes of the brain. This has been cross-linked quite solidly with the jet lag. So the more frequent we experience jet lag, the more worried we got to be in terms of the red flags of the possibility of neurodegenerative disorders and long-term cognitive decline.
Which is dementia.
Dementia, correct.
Yeah. If we can shift to the focus and attention, how do sleep deprivation and disrupted circadian rhythm affect the focus and attention of the cabin crew or pilots? And there are any cognitive training programs that you guys provide here to enhance those skills?
Yeah, definitely. Very important thing. Let me show one thing here. So if this is the model of the brain, like a one-to-one model, and here's our eyeball, right? And if we just split the brain in half and look through inside the brain, this is the master clock of our brain, and this is called hypothalamus. Very close to the hypothalamus, there is a nucleus which is called suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. There should be a very, very solid bidirectional link between the SCN and hypothalamus.
Wow.
For you and I, if we do not experience jet lag, if we do not experience sleep insufficiency or sleep inefficiency, this is going to be well in control, well in check. But if I experience this disruption, the disruption in the link between the SCN and hypothalamus, then the brain is going to start receiving some dysregulation impacts regarding the master clock, regarding the biological clock. And then I will get like lost somewhere in between the cognitive emotion regulation. My mood is very fragile. My memory and my attention is not there. And based on that, my overall performance is going to be negatively impacted, right? And of course, if that is the case, there should be solutions for that. The number one solution is to go for gradual re-entrainment of the sleep schedule before we travel. For example, I heard from you that you will be traveling tonight.
Tonight, that's correct.
So, and you're traveling to the east, if I'm not mistaken.
To Singapore.
To Singapore.
Yes.
And you'll be traveling, across the time zones. if you have been like aware and mindful regarding re-entraining or kind of adjusting your sleep-wake cycle as much as possible to Singaporean time zone before you travel, like 3 to 5 days before you travel.
Yeah.
When you adjust your time zones more compliant with the Singaporean timing, then when you land in Singapore, you will receive less of the negative impact, right? And then this is like gradual. You're not going to change your social clock and your biological clock abruptly from Dubai time to Singapore time. It should be gradual. That's number one thing. Number two is that we might be receiving some consultation from the sleep experts in terms of being exposed to enough natural light in the morning, also using melatonin supplementation. But melatonin supplementation is a very complex story. It's not like I go to the free shop at the airport and I grab some melatonin and I take 2 pills and it's going to do the work. No, that will not do the trick. It will even make the condition more complicated. The timing of melatonin and the dose of melatonin needs to be decided together with the specialist, right? Yeah, because it definitely makes a huge difference if I take the melatonin at 3 milligram at 9 p.m. As compared to 5 milligrams at 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
Or sometimes we go very specific and very precise. And based on the saliva test and the titration of the melatonin level in the saliva and other tests, we decide about 9 milligram melatonin or 10 milligram melatonin. And this 1, 2, 3 milligram really makes the difference. And also the timing, it might be 9:30 for you, 10 for another person, and 11 for another person, right? And based on that, based on the peculiarities of your circadian rhythm, the dosing and timing of melatonin would really matter. And in the morning, how long should I be exposed to the natural light to just hamper the level of melatonin? Because melatonin needs to rise at the middle of the night or at the sleep time, let's say, and then reaches the climax, and in the morning it should be at the bottom rock. If it's not there, then I will be very cranky and groggy in the morning, moody in the morning. I'm not at my best level of performance. I'm getting on the plane and I have responsibilities, but I'm not in my best shape, right?
Okay.
So we need to decide about that as well. The other thing is maintaining hydration.
Wow.
So while we're traveling and while we're going to gradually adjust our sleep-wake pattern, we need to ensure that we're drinking plenty amount of water because those the vascular health in the brain and the blood supply to specific brain areas, also the blood which carries oxygen, fresh oxygen to specific cortical areas, needs to be there. If I'm dehydrated, that will certainly leave a negative impact. If I take care of all those things and it doesn't help, I need to consult a sleep expert. And there are specific cognitive behavioral therapies for insomnia, which is going to really be helpful. And there has been a research and report and a statement and position paper by the Mayo Clinic in 2021, which is specifically addressing the impact of these kind of measures, particularly for pilots and cabin crew members. So, you know what? The reason I'm sharing with the audience of this conversation, and specifically with you, my friend, the reason I'm sharing the evidence is that evidence defeats doubt.
Correct.
Right? Correct. So when if this is like a table with no legs, the table is going to be very unstable.
Yes.
If I'm saying something, you are saying something, and it's not backed up or supported by the evidence, then it's like a table without legs, right? So the legs would be the evidence.
Yes.
And fortunate thing is that we now have a good grasp on a solid body of scientific evidence, which helps us understand better regarding the dynamics of sleep and wake in aviation personnel. And that's one thing. So just to summarize in a couple of words, to do the gradual readjustment of the sleep-wake pattern as per the destination time zone.
Yeah.
Number 2 will be exposure to the natural light in the morning, or sometimes we'll be advising our clients to be using these kind of light therapy devices. It's interesting. So again, the timing and the duration of the use of this will vary from person to person. They're wearing this, and as you can see from that distance, there's like a mixture of the green and blue light, which is directly getting into my eye, and that is going to reach the back of the eye, which is retina. Yeah. And there's a link between retina and the SCN here. All right. So we have the eyeball, retina, SCN, hypothalamus, and there is another center here which produces melatonin. So if I receive this in the morning, then the consequences of this light exposure would be, blocking the secretion of melatonin. Yeah. So melatonin will not be there, would be at an nadir level, and I will feel ready to go, and I will be ready to start off the day. Sometimes it is prescribed for 20 minutes in the morning, sometimes for more, and it depends on the case clinical scenario. And the use of the maintaining hydration, the use of melatonin supplementation, light therapy, and also ultimately CBTI, which stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy for insomnia. And that is backed up by the Mayo Clinic position statement.
So I hear you saying a couple of times melatonin. So do you believe that there are supplements that helps sleep disorder and cognitive functions? Because there are plenty in the market. This one is for cognitive function. This one is for sleep disorder. So I can understand, yes, you said at certain time you need to know how many milligrams you should take, but on the long term, is it really helping, or are we gonna get addicted to this, and then when we stop it, we will even get worse than what we were before?
Exactly. So supplements are still medicines. Yeah. Although they are natural chemicals that they are naturally there in our brain, but when we're overfeeding our brain with those supplements, the number of the receptors or the buyers, let's say, for those supplements, because those supplements need to get attached to their receptors, the number of the receptors will be uptrained. So by time, the same dosing that I used to be taking like a couple of months ago, it's not going to be as effective as before. So I need to increase the dose. So I become tolerant and ultimately become dependent to those things. Of course, we're not providing supplementation of melatonin or whatever, or any other supplements for life. Sometimes we go for a specific certain duration, and then we titrate the dosing of that, and then we just take it off the table. So apart from the dosing, apart from the type of the supplement we're taking, both for sleep, wake, regulation, also for cognitive enhancement, it's advisable to consult with a person who has been in the field for years, knows what he or she is doing. And then I get consultation from that expert to understand if that is the best fit for my condition. If it is, how long should I be using it? For what dosing should I be taking that? And after like a couple of months of being supplemented with those chemicals, then I get it off the table, right? So it's I'm not saying that it's scary to take whatever supplement, but sometimes, as you indicated, if I'm just taking that randomly or not having that consulted with an aware person, with an expert in the field, then that might leave the opposite effect, all right? And that might not be helpful, or even it would be counterproductive to my performance, because I need to take that supplement from now on to perform normally. If I don't take it, something is missing.
Yes. One of the pilots wants to understand the neurological mechanism behind the sleep disorders experienced by frequent flyers. Let's say it doesn't have to be only pilot, could be cabin crew or a passenger, and how this might differ from the general population. Like, what is different between me, pilot, a frequent flyer, and someone like you who basically go at home and sleep 9 o'clock in the morning and wake up normally in the morning?
So apparently, the specific peculiarities in your work responsibility is something which needs to be taken into account. As a pilot, a person might not have the freedom of choice to when to sleep and when to wake up.
Correct.
You are flying at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 12 a.m., so it depends. And you are a shift worker. I mean, most of the aviation personnel are shift workers.
Correct.
Pilots, flight attendants, and even those people who are like air traffic controllers, ATC officers. So they also need to be awake and vigilant throughout the night. And this is considered shift work. The shift work schedule needs to be fair and regulated. If it's not the case, according to a research which was published by the University of Manchester in 2006, unfair shift work schedule is definitely speeding up the process towards neurodegenerative disorders, dementia,
Wow.
certain types of cancers, unfortunately. So we definitely need to be very aware of how good the shift work is going to be for me and how risky that will be. And in some cases, the occupational health experts are consulting pilots or commercial drivers or other shift workers with us and would decide that this person needs to cut off the number of the shift works that he's taking during the month. And like what we discussed, the main neurological mechanism is when I take dysregulated shift work schedules, right? This is negatively going to affect this area of the brain, the SCN hypothalamus. When the SCN hypothalamus is not in check, then other areas that they're receiving innervations from this area will get negatively impacted. So by time I realize that my attention, my focus, my emotion regulation here, my mood control here, also my cognitive flexibility, my reaction time, my motor learning, and my verbal fluency is not there. So some of us are trilingual, bilingual, yeah, all right. But sometimes you know that if you are chronically sleep deprived or sleep restricted, then the verbal fluency in L2, language 2, or L3 or L1 will be seriously impacted. So you want to use the word, but you know what it is in Arabic,
exactly.
well, you know what that is in Italian, but you don't forget, but you don't remember the English word. And word finding, verbal fluency, the communication skills, even the emotional health for us is going to be, negatively affected. So yeah, the frequent flyers will experience disruption in the hypothalamus and suprachiasmatic nucleus network, which regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Additionally, this will be leading to more pronounced impacts in them as compared to the general population. As they fly, frequently across the time zones and they have like irregular sleep-wake schedule, this makes the condition even worse. Mm-hmm. And two publications, one in Journal of Lancet Neurology in 2021 and one in the Journal of Neuroscience in 2020, has been addressing this impact. That in those people who undergo unfair, dysregulated shift work schedules, they are at a higher risk for development of cognitive decline, emotional disruptions, and ultimately, unfortunately, types of dementia and maybe dementia of Alzheimer's type or Alzheimer's disease, God forbid. But the condition needs to be preempted. We need to go for prediction and prevention of the risk profile. So if a person wants to get, if this is the normative state of functionality, if I'm just plotted here, I do perfectly well. If I'm somewhere below that, I need to improve. So we do cognitive improvement. And for example, here or other similar centers, we're providing neurocognitive rehabilitation. If, for example, my memory performance is way below the normative level, I need to take it up, push it up as much as possible near to the normative level. If I'm already doing normal, but as a critical job holder, I would like to make it even better, there is a way for it. Mm-hmm. And this is called cognitive empowerment. Improvement and empowerment. Yes. So there are strategies for that. Yeah. But brains are fingerprints. And we need to decide in a very individualized, personalized, tailored way. So something which works for you might not work for me or for the other person. That's why we sometimes need to address the issue through a specific set of testing and collectively analyze the results of those tests. What we call it neuroscreen. It's like a brain fitness checkup, all right? Nice. And that will be part of the annual wellness checkup. It's already been in the US because we published a paper in 2022 in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. And it turns out that even Mr. Biden's administration has taken that into consideration to take the neuroscreen as a part of the brain fitness annual wellness check under Medicare. So this is really something. And this means that we are checking up our bodily health. We do the blood test every 6 months. We do the eye check. We do the hearing check. I know you guys undergo those tests. But how often have you had the brain health check in the aviation industry?
In aviation industry, I've been 20 years. I never had one brain check health.
Yep.
Never.
And that's important. So what we do for the brain fitness check is that we evaluate the cognitive fitness evaluations through standardized, established, validated, computer-based platforms. So you check for your visual scanning, your attention, divided attention, selective attention, alternating attention, your working memory, your visual spatial coding, your reasoning, your judgment, your decision making. Fine. And then when it's done, we do the brain mapping. So we're putting specific caps, and the caps has electrodes. No pain, no specific feeling, but we're just recording from your brain signals. And I would spend hours to evaluate momentarily changes in the brain pattern and those neurodynamics to make sure if that fits within the expected normative levels or how. And based on that, and maybe we'll let the person undergo the autonomic nervous system check, which is the balance between the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system. That's a part of the nervous system outside the brain. And that's how we get stressed out, right? So if I have mood dysregulation, then maybe I have some dysregulation and I have imbalance between those two hot and cold systems of my nervous system outside the brain. So when we check these 3-4 dynamics, then we collectively analyze them, we have a very clear understanding about your state of brain health and functionality. And I will come back to you and say, yo, my friend, you have this, which is good. This is kind of below expected limits, and this is brilliant. And what we need to do, we need to work on this. And here's the solution. Maybe I prescribe supplements, sometimes medications. I prefer not to prescribe medications in many instances. And in many instances, we depend largely on technology-assisted brain enhancement stuff, which is partly being covered by insurance, and it's being reimbursed at some cases. Generally, there is a hope that the eyes of the public, number one, and the eyes of the government and the policymakers will be even more open to the significance of brain fitness check. And when it comes to the aviation industry, even to astronauts or the space personnel, this is something. And we have started some research recently on the sleep-wake cycle in astronauts. Right? So that is because Dubai is a pioneer. I mean, UAE has got a space program. And for the astronauts, for the pilots, and also for the flight attendants and cabin crew members, this is something salient, right? So collectively, we need to push the awareness level to the next level at the public and also policymaking levels to let the people know that, well, the gem that we have behind our eyes really needs care, right? And it really needs to be tested and evaluated. How about that? What do you think?
Well, actually, I was thinking that this is the right moment to say that this is the place where we need to check our brain health. And you said not once a year, once in a lifetime. And for everyone who did not do that, I would really, really recommend to come. It doesn't have to be here, but check your brain health
anywhere. Anywhere that is like established standard center, wherever in the world. But there are centers that they are providing these services in North America and Canada and Europe, in Australia, in the Middle East. We have centers that I and my colleagues, we are providing this set of services to the people to give them like 20-something pages report and say, hey, this is your brain, and you stand out in 1, 2, 3. You are pretty normal in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there are a couple of domains that we need to be cautious about. Let's do something to make them, even better. Yeah, that's the idea.
Let's talk a little bit about the neurocognitive fitness and how cabin crew and pilots maintain or improve their cognitive health while managing a demanding, irregular schedule. What is it that we can do? Let's move away from supplements, but just normally on a daily life. What is it that we can do? Is it, maybe it's silly what I'm going to say, like, playing Sudoku, it will help a little bit, or solving riddles. Is this something that we can do, or there's something way more than this we can do so we can improve?
Thank you for asking. These are very important things. And playing the cognitive games or getting brain training and getting into similar centers, it's okay, it is there. But there are some common sense things that are very uncommon in us, all right? It doesn't mean that, for example, everyone knows, and science has backed up with the evidence, the fact that physical activity is very good to the brain. So am I physically active? I'm running a very sedentary life. Let's put that together in a 6-pillar domain of brain health. And this is what we refer to as brain health index. 1, physical activity. 2, diet habits. 3, sleep and wake pattern. 4, any tobacco product use. 5, alcohol consumption. And 6, mood and stress management. So these 3 are loading my BHI or brain health index with positive score. If I have a good physical activity, I go to gym at least a couple of times a week, or I take a certain number of steps during the day. If I follow the regular diet habits, I refrain from taking too much of fast food and take the junk food off the table. If I'm aware of my sleep dynamics, and for sleep dynamics, there are 3 things: the timing, the quality, and the duration, the quantity. So if that is in check, beautiful. So I'm being loaded positively for my brain health index. And the negatively loading parameters are use of tobacco or any tobacco products, smoking and substance use, if that is the case. Alcohol. And there has been a recent study that no dose of alcohol is considered to be beneficial.
Definitely.
Right? So,
empty calories.
And also taking alcohol at evening hours. This is something which is going to hamper the number 3 domain, which is the sleep health, right? So tobacco, alcohol, and mood dysregulation, anxiety and depression. As a cabin crew member, as a pilot, as an aviation officer, if I feel that my mood is depressed, something is not right. Maybe, and we know that this circadian rhythm has a lot to do with the mood control. So if I travel across the time zones, then my mood might receive some negative impacts, right? Yeah. I might become very anxious, or it might become depressed, or the combination of anxiety and depression. What should be done is regular physical exercise for sure, balanced nutrition, mental exercises, as you pointed out, as like, let's challenge our brain, let's use it. And there is a very famous quote in neuroscience saying that the more we use our brain, the more brain we will get to use.
Okay.
Right? So let's stay active mentally. Yeah. And also stress management techniques like meditation, relaxation, the power of silence, right?
Okay.
And travel quite a bit, having this sense of gratitude, being kind to the people, hard on the deal, and also being strict with what we're doing and being very flexible with the people. And to expand our social life and to, live a brain-friendly life style. And this 6 domains of brain health index and what we have experienced over our practice also have been outlined in the Journal of Applied Physiology in the year 2016. So there is no doubt that these measures will empower our neurocognitive fitness. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does answer. Okay. There is something very interesting what you talk about out of those 6 is the nutrition. Being a cabin crew or a pilot, we have not only irregular sleeping patterns, we have irregular eating patterns. Sometimes we eat 8 in the morning, sometimes we eat 3 after midnight, sometimes we are eating at 10 o'clock at night. Does this irregular sleeping pattern really affect our mood and our cognitives?
Yeah, sure. This master clock here has many nuclei in it. Yes. So there are many centers. The center for hunger, the center for satiety, the center for temperature regulation, the center for XYZ. Okay, so it's a very complex thing. It's a tiny little guy here, but it does a lot. So when my sleep-wake pattern is dysregulated, then I might be having lack of appetite, or on the other hand, overeating. So I might be eating like, I don't know, I don't feel full. And I keep eating like, okay, I got this binge eating or binge drinking sometimes. So this area will receive some disharmony as per sleep-wake dysregulation. And based on that, many other domains of my lifestyle habits will be affected. And interestingly, the biological clock, which predominantly falls under the SCN or suprachiasmatic nucleus, it's like set of genes and regulators there. The cells here have the master genes there. But interestingly, every single cell in my body has this biological clock, has this biological rhythm. There are some genes, just to share with you, so like TIM, like BMAO, or clock gene. These are like famous genes that they are implicated in the process of circadian rhythmicity. I need to eat at a certain time in a regular way. If I eat in a very irregular or random way, then I'm disrupting the expression of those genes in my stomach cells, in my like cells that you're secreting insulin, like the pancreatic cells, and also the cells in the guts that they are responsible for the absorption and doing some kind of food processing. So when this is dysregulated, literally all the cells in my body gets dysregulated.
Okay.
The blood pressure fluctuations, problem with the heart rhythmicity, problem with the pattern of my respiration, problem with the kidney excretion, problem with the regulation of the tension of my muscles or the contraction of my muscles. So perhaps you feel that when you are lacking enough and efficient sleep, you feel that your body is tense, you have dry mouth, and you have shivery hands. Also, you might be feeling dizzy, lightheaded, buzzing in the ears, cognitively, well, completely, affected. And also for your mood, you feel either depressed or anxious. So these are all interdigitated. Nothing in our biology is segregated. Everything goes together.
Together, yeah. So food is very important, obviously, at a certain time. Yeah. So.
And also, we got to be, Mr. Rabi, we need to be very mindful about the amount of the food we take, type of the food we take.
Correct.
So the food, the nutrition needs to be balanced and healthy.
Yes. So
if I take much fat, low protein, and very much of the carbohydrates, this is an unbalanced diet. So it should be like a balanced diet, which comprises different types of the food components, and at the same time, the timing of my eating, the amount that I eat. So these are all the things. I don't know. I know that you are physically being checked, so I have never seen a flight attendant, the pilot, that you're super obese. But if that is the case, if my weight is not in check, I need to consult a dietitian. I need to be mindful about the diet, about the nutrients that I'm taking. If there is a need for weight reduction program, I need to undergo those plans.
Yeah.
Right. So these are the important things.
So last thing I want to ask you, because we were talking about nutrition, so we can end this video cast. Do you believe that intermittent fasting?
Before you go for that, are we being like too lengthy and I'm being technical, or it's just understandable?
I think you are way understandable than expected.
Okay,
amazing.
Okay,
you're not too lengthy at all, and you're not technical, because at the beginning I thought it can be a little bit technical.
Yeah, I was worried about that. Yeah, okay, that's good.
So there is a lot of studies and there's a lot of videos talking about intermittent fasting that increases your focus, and it will basically help you to have a better cognitive function. Do you believe in that?
Well, it's not like, it doesn't matter if I believe or I don't believe. What we talk is a language of science. If that is backed up by scientific evidence, then we'll believe it. Science is not sacred, right?
Correct.
So when it comes to the intermittent fasting, because it affects the secretion and the dynamics of specific hormones and peptides, both in the brain and in the body. They might include GLP or insulin and insulin growth factor, and also some other things like ghrelin and neuropeptide Y. And these are the handful number of the chemicals that they are influenced by intermittent fasting. But intermittent fasting should not be self-practiced. Mm-hmm. It should be, and it's not a same, one-size-fitting-all thing. It should be personalized, and it should be done based on my food tolerance, food intolerance, about my biological peculiarities, also my microbiota pattern, or the balance of the microbes in my gut. I definitely need to get tested or get this specific test done with the expert, namely nutritionists. And based on that, I will get my personalized prescription for intermittent fasting. But in one word, even more important than intermittent fasting is to eat an appropriate amount of food, a healthy and balanced diet, and also being adequately hydrated. Mm-hmm. If these things are checked, then I'm doing good, right? So, of course, eating right is a very good thing to the brain, because if I eat in a very wrong way, or I have like untoward habit to towards my diet thing, that is negatively going to affect my not only bodily health but brain health. But being physically active, being mindful about the diet, being mindful about the sleep-wake health, and refraining from untoward habits which are not brain-friendly. So these are collectively going to inform my health. So it is not like that I go for intermittent fasting and I smoke a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
I go for intermittent fasting and I'm totally stressed out.
Or I drink alcohol.
I drink alcohol. I have my sleep-wake pattern is crazy, but I go for intermittent fasting. So they are not going to be a counterbalance, right?
Correct.
So this is not going to compensate.
Correct.
They need to go all hand in hand, and they need to go in a very harmonized and evenly balanced way. If that is the case, I will be hopeful about longevity, about my overall functionality, my overall mental health, bodily health, brain fitness, cognitive health, also emotional health, social health, environmental health, and even spiritual health, right?
Correct.
So it's like a holistic health concept.
It's all connected to each other.
They're all connected. So if I follow this XYZ and I unfollow other proper health habits, they are not going to compensate each other.
Correct.
So they need to go in a balanced, evenly balanced way to let it go that way. And I wish everyone who's watching this very proper sleep, because sleep is really fundamental to our overall health. But unfortunately, that has been an unattended aspect of our life. When I was getting into the field of sleep research and sleep medicine and neuroscience, my colleagues were telling me, why don't you go for something even more fancy? Okay, sleep is not a big deal. We sleep and we wake up. Okay, but that's the reality. All the doctors, all the healthcare professionals are focused about what happens during wake hours. So they don't.
So there is a gap somewhere, which is what you are covering over
there.
there.
Exactly. Yeah. We healthcare providers do not take enough care about what happens during the sleep.
Correct.
But let's face it, we're spending 8 to 10 hours sleeping on average in 24 hours. And it's not something, a joke, right? So if I'm facing a physiological, bodily, brain-wise challenge during my sleep, it needs to be addressed, mitigated, improved, or empowered, right? Correct. So sleep well, guys.
Exactly. Before we end this, what are the 3 best advice that you can give for a cabin crew or a pilot in order to keep a positive or healthy cognitive functions?
So again, make sure that we stick to the brain-friendly habits, like the 6 pillars of our brain health index. That's for sure. Number 2, even be more focused on sleep-wake health. Sleep-wake pattern needs to be regulated, that needs to be in check. If for any reason, I as a flight attendant feel that I'm not doing fine with my sleep and wake pattern, I need to find a solution. I need to consult the healthcare providers that are expert in this field, and they know how this is going to get mitigated. Number 3 is that let's use it. Okay, so the more we use it, the better we can use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And getting involved in cognitive brain-wise challenges, and getting involved in board games, physical, mental exercises. This is going to be really helping.
Right. Dr. Nami, thank you very much for your time.
I appreciate it.
Amazing. Your time is very precious. You give us a bit of your time for this video cast. Thank you for the book that you offered, Dubai Business Leader. Dr. Nami is one of the business leaders in the UAE. You can see here, his picture is right on the bottom corner. That book, is it available in the market?
It is.
It is available.
It's on Amazon, I guess.
It's beautiful.
Sure.
And I hope that some of our colleagues will take a decision, come and check at least once in a lifetime the brain health.
Yeah, we would be really happy to be of assistance and to serve the cause for whatever reason possible. And I wish you all the best, and let's catch up for what we can do together to raise the awareness about the impact of sleep health and neurocognitive fitness. For you guys, you're doing a great job and very important work, and let's value that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Stay fit with CrewFit.
Thanks. Thanks. It's been a pleasure.